Well, driving testers at the Road Safety Authority, who are members of the Fórsa trade union, are to stage a full one-day work stoppage this Friday over concerns uninsured vehicles are being presented for driving tests. Now, it comes after the latest round of conciliation talks at the Workplace Relations Commission failed to reach a resolution. The union announced that a full one-day work stoppage from 8:15am to 5:30pm will be held on this Friday, the 20th of February. Well, let's discuss this a little further. I'm joined in studio this morning by Chris Curran of the Chris Curran Coaching Driving School in Ennis. Good morning, Chris, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Sally Ann, to you and all your listeners.
I suppose, Chris, your response when you first heard news of this work stoppage, what's the potential impact of this?
So, we've 3 testing centres here in Clare, Sally Ann. We have the testing centres in Ennis, Kilrush and in Shannon. So all 3 are impacted this Friday all day. So that means any candidate due to sit their test this Friday has got, by this stage over the weekend, an email from the Road Safety Authority saying that their test will not take place this Friday, impacting people that want to pass their test for work reasons, for college reasons, for school reasons, and obviously putting out a lot of people.
Give us an indication, Chris, from what you see of those who are coming to you for the necessary driving lessons before they embark on that test. I mean, what are the waiting times that they are facing at the moment to get the letter to tell them they had that test this Friday that's now cancelled?
Well, I suppose it's a long journey, Sally Ann. It really is. Lots of these people started their journey over a year ago because they have to pass their theory test. They have to do 12 lessons with an approved driving instructor. Then they have to get ready for their test, apply, wait. So it's a big disappointment. I have a couple of students myself who were put out over this. And the problem is they have no clarity on a new date. The Road Safety Authority have informed them that they will be in touch to offer them a new date. So they go back into a queue and they have to wait. Now, they've been told on the email that they have priority, but we're not clear when they will have their test.
So what does that mean, though? Does that mean if a cancellation comes up, they could be getting a very lastminute.com, come and do your driving test? It's not exactly great preparation for the nerves.
It's not, but they will be given a few options. So they won't be told on the 30th of March you must turn up at 9:15. So they will be given a few options. But you asked me about the waiting times. Huge work went into reducing those waiting times in the last year. And I was on the show with Alan in January saying that they had it down to the 10-week service level agreement. That's the Road Safety Authority. So what that means this morning, today, is that if a candidate who's completed their lessons and wants to apply for their test in the Clare area, all 3 test centres in Kilrush, Shannon and here in Ennis are offering them tests the week beginning the 20th of April. So that's 10 weeks from this week, Sally Ann. So what happens next, we don't know, because this is the first day of the industrial action. Will there be more days? We're not sure. But what we'd like to get everybody working in this space, driving instructors, students, candidates, their parents, their brothers, their sisters, what they want is clarity now. And there's no clarity right now.
You mentioned, Chris, that you have a couple of your own students who are going to be affected by this work stoppage on Friday. They had been given Friday as their date. I suppose give us a sense, without giving us specific details, but are they students who are waiting to get their full licence to commute to college? Are they people who are trying to take public transport to get to work? How is this going to affect them?
So one of the students is in 6th year in college here, or in school here in Ennis. So obviously, that young man has plans to drive. He's leaving cert coming up shortly. Maybe he wants to go to college. So right now, it was a good week for him because it's a week off. Yeah. They're on midterm, Sally Ann. The other gentleman needs it for work. he works in a space that requires him to drive his vehicle to visit his customers, right? So that gentleman needs his licence. So they're just two small examples of the people that are going to be put out this Friday.
Let's talk a little bit about the reason for this work stoppage, Chris. You know, it comes after the latest round of conciliation talks at the Workplace Relations Commission. They failed to reach a resolution here. It's been ongoing for a while. But basically, those testers who are members of Fórsa, they're concerned about uninsured vehicles being presented for driving tests. Now, when I read this first, I thought to myself, well, shouldn't they just have the relevant insurance certificate on display on the windscreen? What is the main concern? Now we see latest figures out today. A total of 19,673 vehicles were seized by Gardaí last year for being driven without insurance. So it's a huge general problem. But how much of a problem is it for those driving test instructors? Like, how much are they seeing this present at the centres?
Well, I suppose what the driver testers are arguing is right now, today, Sally, and if you rock up to the test centres in Kilrush, Shannon or in Ennis, you sign a declaration along with presenting documents. The document is your learner permit, but you sign a declaration that your vehicle is insured, assuming that it is your vehicle and you haven't hired a tester's or an instructor's car. So after that, the only document that they see is the actual insurance cert that is displayed on the vehicle. So the testers are arguing, give us proof. In other words, let us see the policy document mentioning Sally Ann as a driver, whether she's the main driver or a named driver on that policy. Right now, that is not the case. You do not have to present your insurance policy or your document at the test centre.
So they want to see the physical certificate presented at the centre or prior to the day? Prior
to you leaving the centre to go out to drive for your test. So the morning of the test or the day of the test, they're asking for this to be presented.
Well, what do you think, Chris? Is that necessary?
Look, you've just given us a figure. Almost 20,000 uninsured vehicles. So the testers have a point. There's no shadow of doubt about it. How many... we don't have numbers as to how many people are trying to go out in a vehicle the day of their test with uninsured vehicle. We don't have numbers. But the testers are making the point that unless whoever is doing their test provides that documentation, the clarity isn't there. Mm-hmm. So
it's a personal safety concern for that.
And they're arguing, the testers are arguing that the workplace that they operate in other words, that car is not safe if it isn't insured properly. All you've got to do today is sign a declaration, and then the next step is to display your insurance cert on the windscreen of your car, along with your NCT and your road tax, all of which must be in place and must be compliant, otherwise the test doesn't happen.
So if that is the crux of this matter, could this have been avoided on Friday?
I would say that the Workplace Relations Commission have had 3 meetings. They've met on the 20th of January, the 4th of February, and the 3rd meeting was last week, and they haven't been able to resolve this. So I think everybody, Sally Ann, would be calling to get this one fixed quickly. The Gardaí can now, on number plate recognition, determine...
They can seize the vehicle.
Yeah, mm-hmm. But they can determine whether you're insured or not.
Yeah.
By looking at your registration. They're sharing a national database on insurance. I would suggest, could this not be shared with the Road Safety Authority so that the testers could be sure that the vehicle is insured before they sit into it to perform a test?
But Chris, as we know, that would involve some joined up thinking.
Absolutely, Sally Ann.
That is an issue, though, that sometimes a lot of departments, they're just not speaking to each other. They're
Correct.
Not sharing the data.
They're not sharing the data. And the figures you gave us, 20,000 that they've caught. So how many more are they missing?
Yeah, certainly it's a concern. When it comes to this Friday, so people have received their letters. Is there any advice that you can give in the meantime, or are people just having to wait and see?
I think wait and see. They will be offered, our understanding is they will be offered another invitation to book a new date, a new time. I'm hoping, like every other instructor and every other parent and candidate, that this doesn't escalate, that this strike or this industrial action is sorted out sooner rather than later, because the last thing anybody needs right now in the space is people waiting longer and putting people out, people trying to get their licence for work, for school, for college, for travelling. Everybody needs it. It's a life skill. Everybody wants to drive to get places. So hopefully this can be sorted sooner rather than later, Sally-Ann.
We hear so much about all of the resources that are put into developing public transport in many areas, Chris. Are you still seeing the levels of demand for that system of 12 driving lessons? Is there still the demand there that we have seen consistently the past few years? Or is that public transport realm, is it coming into it anymore in areas such as Clare?
Not in Clare. I think the demand is higher than ever. Any of my colleagues will tell you that we're all busy with people. The demographic has changed. There are more people living in the country, more people living in the county of Clare. Our population's gone over 5 million. People want to drive, whether it's somebody in school, somebody in college, somebody wanting to get from A to B. The options aren't there, Sally, and people want to drive, and that's why the pressure is on the system. Record numbers applying for driving tests, record numbers of people applying for learner permits, and I can't see this but continuing, to be honest with you.
So the demand is still there, and we said we've got to 10 weeks of a waiting list. So if demand continues and you're seeing increased demand, is that going to be a further concern for the RSA while they still have the responsibility for driver testing? Are we going to need to see further resources pumped in there?
Absolutely. And I mean, last year there was huge pressure on the system. Sean Kenny, the Minister for State for Transport, called all the stakeholders together, pulled the RSA into line. The RSA at the time last year, some of the testing waiting times had gone to 20 weeks, Sally, and in Clare we've got it down to 10. Surely we need to continue it and try and keep it in check so that people can sit their driving test and try and pass their driving test.
Well, I suppose we'll have to wait and see. For those who have received their letters, so no further action needed, they're going to get further communications. In the meantime, they might get to sneak another lesson in somewhere.
Well, absolutely. They need to keep up their preparation, keep up practicing with their instructor, their test routes, practice with somebody at home that can sit into the car with them, all those things.
OK, we'll leave it there for the moment. Chris, thanks so much for coming into us.